Hi everyone, it's Wayne here, also known as ThePlantaholic. I show weekly videos on my exotic garden in the UK. After a few weeks of very cold and wet conditions, we finally got an absolutely glorious day, as you can see, very spring-like. And today I'll be heading into the shed to propagate my latest seed shop. Okay, so we're inside the shed now, so let's see what seeds I have to sow. Okay, we have a few packs of seeds here, which I purchased in the autumn from Mike Clifford. I'm sowing them now in the new year in my propagator with grow lights. It means that I can propagate things early on in the year, and by sowing them now, hopefully then by the spring they'll make good size small plants, and then I can pot them on or plant them out in late spring, early summer in my garden, and they'll grow really well. Okay, so first up is Begonia Ferreginia, and this has beautiful deep red flowers. It's a bit like Begonia fuchsioides, but the flowers are much bigger. Then I also have another begonia. This one's called Begonia Ludwigii, and this is more of a foliage plant. It has some fantastic palmate foliage. Next I have Cordyline Bank Ci, which is a cabbage tree from New Zealand. So not fully hardy here, but I'm hoping to plant it out and then perhaps bring it in under cover for the winter time. And this, I believe, is the forest cabbage tree. I also have a couple of packets of another Cordyline indivisa, and this is one of the rarest of all Cordylines here in the UK. Again, not fully hardy. It's known as the mountain cabbage tree or mountain cordyline, and it has quite wide foliage. So again, I might have to bring that in for the winter time, but it is quite tricky to grow. Next up is Dendrocerius Literalis. This is a cabbage tree. Again, but much different to the Cordylines. This has much more rounder succulent like leaves, and it has bright orange nodding flowers, and it will be absolutely stunning if I can get that to go. Something else which is stunning, very rare in the UK, is this one here called Rogersianthe superba, and this is known as the white sunflower tree. It's from Guatemala and southern Mexico, and it can grow up to 18 feet tall with white sunflower flowers, and those flowers can be many inches across and are lightly fragrant. Next up is the Solanum, so it's in the tomato and potato family. This one has actually got lovely sort of interesting foliage, sort of serrated foliage, and it has round yellow or orange fruits. Next up is a Sonchus, a Corlis. These are commonly called tree dandelions, but actually the tree sow thistles from the Canary Islands. I have several species already, so this is another one to add to my list. And they do have interesting tubed-like leaves. They grow up to about 2 meters tall, and then they have the sprays of dandelion flowers on the top. Another Sonchus, another tree dandelion, is this Sonchus here called Condylas Padronii, and again it's from the Canary Islands. And finally I have a Anthodesia Hercules, so it's a white calla lily, and this is the biggest, or if not one of the biggest ones of all. It grows up to about 2 meters tall with huge white calla lily flowers. Okay, this is my heated Vitapod propagator with grow lights. It enables me to grow many seeds all year round because of the heat and the grow lights to actually grow the plants on. And I can heat this anything between 10 to 35 degrees centigrade. And I got this from greenhousesensation.co.uk. Earlier on I gave it a good clean out to make sure I've got plenty of room in there for all my nude seeds, and I use soapy water with just a tiny bit dash of bleach in there just to make sure it's nice and clean and there's no nasties in there. Okay, this is the thermostat that's used to heat my propagator, so it controls the heat. You can see at the moment it's heated to 30 degrees centigrade. And it was quite hot in there actually to germinate banana seeds. But for the seeds I've got at the moment, I think 20 is ideal. It's a good temperature for a wide range of seeds to germinate. So I'm going to turn this down. So I'm just going to press that until it flashes. And then I'm going to press the minus button to get down to 20. And then reset that now, so that's ready to heat now at 20 degrees. So obviously it will cool down now by about 9.5 degrees. Okay, so when you're doing seed sowing, it's a great idea to wash your pots first of all to create a sterile environment to sow your seeds in. And I've overfilled the pots with this multi-purpose compost, and then I just level it off like so, and use another pot to just firm the compost down lightly to the depth of about 1/2 centimetre or so, just so that you've got a nice level base for your seeds to sit on. Okay, I'm going to be sowing my seeds in these small pots. I'm choosing small pots for a couple of reasons. One is because the seeds are small, they don't need a lot of compost to grow away. And second, I need to make sure I've got plenty of space in my propagator for a wide range of seeds that I want to sow. So by using smaller pots, it will use less space. Right, once I've filled up my pots with compost, I like to water them well. I always use tap water rather than rainwater. I use rainwater for all of my plants outside of my house plants, but for my seeds I always use sterile, tap water that's got no nasties in. And then what I do, I use my cute little watering can here, and with a tiny rose give them a good soaking from the top. Alternatively, of course, you could just pour the water in the tray and let it soak up for about 5 minutes or so from beneath. So the first seed I'm going to sow is in this tiny little pot here is a packet of seed which I have the minimum amount of seed. So I have my Solanum chrysotrichum, only has 2 seeds in there in the packet, so you can see just there. So I'm going to place those in the smaller pot, and I'm just going to do it very carefully, tip it in my hand, pick out the one and place on, and then the second one too. So tiny seeds, and place them on the top, evenly spaced, so they've got plenty of room. And because they're so small, I'm just going to cover them with a little bit of compost, because there's a rule of thumb for seed sowing: whatever the depth of the seeds, you cover with the same again. So I need to have a tiny bit of compost just to cover them, just out of sight. Any more and they probably won't germinate. And next I'm going to put this label in them. So I'm always use plastic labels, and I always reuse them. You can rub them off with your thumb, or you can use a rubber on pencil, which is great, and you can reuse time and time again. with label marker pens, I find they can wash off over time, even if they're supposed to be permanent, or they can be degraded by UV light from the sun. And I always put the date on, because when they germinate, you always want to know how long it's taken to germinate. And I always write from the rounded end, not the pointed end, because if you start off with the pointed end and then you put it in the pot, it's going to bury most of the name. Whereas if you write from the rounded end first, it will always be above the soil level, so at the compost level, so you can always tell what it is at a quick glance. Next up, I'm going to be sowing these white sunflower tree seeds, and I've got 2 packets of these, so I've got 8 seeds in total, a bit bigger than the last seeds that I sowed of the solanum, so medium sort of size. So I'm going to put both packets into the one pot. So there's the seeds. I'm going to again place these out evenly on the top, and then again, like before, I'm going to cover with exactly the same depth of compost as the diameter of the seed. Next, I'm going to sow my Dendrocerius Literalis seeds. These are a bit bigger than before again, so I'm going to place these in this pot here, and again evenly space them out, cover with the same depth of compost as the diameter of the seeds. So place these on here, evenly spaced out, much wider seed but quite thin and papery. And just cover them up again. And finally, for this video, I'm going to sow one of Begonia Ferreginia. And begonia seeds are absolutely tiny. They're almost like dust. I don't know if you can actually see. I don't think it will zoom in that much, but they literally are tiny in the base of the packet. Let's see if it will focus on the bottom of the packet. It is really like dust, yeah, in the bottom of the pack. And I'm just going to sprinkle those on as evenly as I possibly can, which is quite difficult. Give them a tap, and also open the base of the packet just to make sure there's none stuck in the bottom, just to make sure that they're all accurately gone in there. And with these, it's very important not to cover them. If I cover them, they won't ever germinate. They need light to germinate. So the smaller the seed, the more light they need to germinate. The bigger the seed, the more dark they need to germinate, as a general rule. And because these seeds are so tiny, I can't physically cover them with an amount of compost which is the same diameter as a seed, so I need to leave them on the top. So what I'm going to do shortly now is I'm going to place all these in my propagator. Okay, so I've placed them all neatly into my heated propagator. The heated base is heated to 20 degrees, and it will keep them at that temperature nice and stable until they germinate in 2 to 3 weeks time, I hope. So I'll be doing a video hopefully in a few weeks to show you how well they've done. Right, I'm going to continue sowing my packets of seeds and place them in my propagator. If you've enjoyed this video, then please press the thumb icon to like it. And also, if you'd like to see my weekly videos, then please press the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel. Thanks everyone. See you soon. Bye.